tell, do you see the road? I'm out to my soul into the size whenever the smoke clear out of my face and my picture perfect.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the fourth part of, What If My Little Pony Meets Ben 10? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of JBoy44 on fanfiction.net. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. While walking around, Applejack adjusted a bag she had over her shoulder. It was green with an apple on it. She did not want to lose it as they came to what was Cherry Jubilee's ranch. Only to see her dressed like your classic Southern belle in a yellow dress running while holding the dress up. Behind her was Onimo on a mutant bat. The brain said, "You towns appearing here destroyed the secret lab. Now it will be months me and my brother most share a body." Onimo had the bat let out a sonic scream, knocking down the barn and making the ponies all hold their ears. Alan ran out turning into his alien form to throw a fireball at that bat's mouth, making Ti scream and dip its head in the water box for livestock to put out its flaming mouth. The Onimo brothers looked to see, "Tennyson's, what are the chances?" said the doctor. The professor then replied, "Well, pretty good if you take a notice of what is around this town." Onimo shrugged and pulled out his mutation ray, jumping off as Alan made flaming rocks pop up and fly at the bat. "Well, now isn't this nice?" he said, firing off the weapon at a big, turning it into a massive wild boar beast with 10 tusks. It charged and in a moment Applejack flipped on it, landed on its back and pulled out what looked like a baton, only for Light to come out and lasso the pig by the tusk, hold on their partner. "I am ready to grab this pig by the tusks," she said, smiling as she was able to pull on it one direction, not get it to charge at Onimo. "Thank you for this gift, Cousin Cinnamon," adopted Cousin Brayburn. Ben was handing the long passed out cherry to Brayburn and said, "Take her and run." The stallion listened, gladly taking off. Onimo fired the beam again, turning the big back to normal, so Applejack was sent flying and falling face first into a barn. The brain then took note of Alan and said, "Idiot brother, the reverse mutation setting. Use it on Alan, his powers come form being genetically spliced. You can depower the heat blast knock off." Doctor then took note and said, "Good idea." He then went to fire, only for Alan to make flaming rocks pop up to block it as he said, "Ben, you going to have to handle the bat. I have to save my powers." Ben took a note and adjusted his hat, looking through it. "Well, time for you," he said, hitting it to become Shockrock. The new alien smirked as he clapped his hands, sending off a shock wave that made Onimo's ray gun stop working. Onimo looked at it, trying to fire, but the brain on top of him, he sent out an EMP. "My tank is EMP proof, but your makeshift mutation ray is not." A flaming rock then hit Onimo in the gut, knocking him over and setting him on fire. The made man then dove into the animal, drinking water to put himself out as he screamed, "I am on fire." The bat then got up, only for Ben to fire off a lightning bolt, shocking it and knocking it out. He then walked over to AJ, who was out cold, and hit the dial, becoming clockwork, to rewind her time to just when she was about to hit it. But this time he caught her. "Got you, sister." He put her down as Applejack looked at Onimo making bubbles in the drink tank. "So this here is all done." Clockwork seemed to vanish but appeared by the ray gun, rewinding time around it to fix it. He then shot the knocked out bat, turning it back into a normal fruit bat. "Now we are. Fluttershy would never forgive us if we didn't unmutated the poor thing." Later on at Kevin's Hazu, Silver Spoon's jaw was dropped. "What do you mean you are moving?" Kevin sighed as he got down to her and Tiara. "Gwen is going to collage. I am following to keep dudes off her. You don't know, they could be a smart super-powered guy waiting to take her from me, and that isn't happening." Tiara blinked as she said, "She won't do that. She loves you, big brother. Like us," she said, tearing up. Kevin hugged them as he said, "It's okay, this is what is supposed to happen. Even Ben is thinking of moving out as there is too many people at his house." The two little fillies were hugging him back as Diamond said, "We're going to miss you, big brother." Silver Spoon sniffled, Now how are we going to get reports so easily? We had a hero living under the same roof, making it so easy for our web show hero interview. The older sibling said, hey, now the Tennyson sisters would be happy to help, same with Jessica. Meanwhile at the Tennyson house, Ben walked to his car to see Twilight trying to magically unpack his bags, but he became Terraspin and grabbed her horn, stopping her magic. Nice try. Megan then came in. The little 4-year-old, or at least that's how she looked, walked over holding a drawing of the family together marked with names in front of the house. For you, big brother, bye-bye. She gave it to him and hugged his leg before walking off. Ben timed out as he said, see, the baby is taking it better than you girls. Would it help you all get if I told you the apartment is going to be shared with Jessica? Sandra came in, moving in with a lady without putting a ring on her. The mother was cut off as Ben opened a ring box showing it. Twilight's jaw dropped as the other Tennyson women came in to look at it as Carl walked by saying, that's one of my grandmother's rings, I gave it to him and knew. They all looked to him shooting glares. Rarity smiled, her eyes sparkling, so you are planning? Ben nodded as he said, if I don't get cold hooves it'll be as soon as we unpack, he said, closing it to put it up as he closed his truck and opened the door. Wish me luck, he said, driving off. Later on that night, Lucy was on her couch sighing, Jessie honey, I miss our baby girl. Jessie walked in holding her phone out. Yeah, big day for her, moved out and now, while she pointed to the picture of her hugging Ben with one arm showing the ring on her finger with the shine of his horn in the selfie with the hashtag engaged. Lucy gasped, jumping up, we are going to have mere grandbabies, she said, picturing an anthro pony with a back fin and fish tail happily swing in the ocean, dressed in a little waterproof white dress. Oh, so cute. In the Tennyson house in the garage the sisters were gathered. Megan walked in, the little 4-year-old in Ben's old 5-year-old outfit, holding a map, a trash can lid as a shield and a bucket on her head. I am ready to help keep the city safe while Big Brother is away. Applejack petted her head, that right there is very cute little filly, but you's just too young. You got 6 more years till you can be hero, she said, lightly tapping her to get her moving. Family cute. Megan sighed, oh, I want to put a dirty mop in Vilgax's face, she said, sadly leaving. Pinkie Pie shivered as she said, now that is yucky. Twilight clapped her hands as she said, okay, back on track ladies. Big Brother should enjoy his honeymoon with Jessica. So we will be having to step up our game. Kevin and Gwen have left, so it's the Tennyson sisters' time to shine. Copper tapped me into red spot alerts so we will get the news. Applejack adjusted her top as she said, us be going patrolling with Alan. Rainbow Dash put hands on her peach, Pierce wants my help checking the harbor today. With I don't have to say the big problem here. Fluttershy put up a map of Undertown. The newly found by the humans alien town. Under our feet. Its crime rate has been higher since Vilgax lost. So we need to focus on there. Rarity smiled, I am going with Rook to investigate the crime. Pinkie, you want to join? Pinkie Pie smiled as she put her phone into her handbag, sure. Adam needs a guide for his week release, by the way, super happy about it. Had to beg Grandpa for a month for it. Using every cute move I had. End up needing to use Megan to break him for it. Later on in Undertown. Pinkie Pie, Rarity, Rook, Adam dressed in a red spot outfit came to the ruins of a store. Pac-Man popped out of the rubble, stupid thugs. They ruined Pac-Man's shitter shop. Adam then kicked at a tub-like thing as Pac-Man said, it alien shitter shop. Did a model for all 5 standard digestive system types. They say pay for protection, but if we don't pay they ruin shop. Before he could say more he screamed and ran as a crabdozer jumped down. Rarity quickly held out a hand, making a shield to block its charge as she said, I am sorry, but what is a heat blast eater doing here? And why is it after us and not AJ and Alan? Alan is a heat blast. Rook held the prototool in gun mode, and as the thing backed up and Rarity dropped her shield he fired on it and said, indeed a good question. Pinkie Pie pulled out of her hair a kitchen sink and threw it at the thing, hitting it upside the head, making it turn to her shocked. Adam pulled out a blaster and fired. Here is another thing you all need to take note of, the collar around its neck. he said, shooting the caller. Rook jumped out of the way of a charge and he put the prototool on his shoulder to go to torrent mode for easier avoiding. Note taken. A collar shows it is a trained animal. Pinkie Pie was pulling out of her hair other random heavy objects to throw, so why is simple it was trained to attack Tennysons out in the open and 2 Tennysons here. This OS plum loco. Rook blinked and said, crazy fruit. Adam yelled out, figure of speak, he said, throwing a grenade. The thing exploded below the crabdozer, making it fall down into Undertown by breaking the farther into Undertown. And probably not trained to attack Tennyson, probably trained by the gang we are after. They all took note of the logical statement as he jumped down after it, in which case it would return to its owners. They all dropped down and found no crabdozer, just some blue lizard dog running away. Pinkie blinked, how does something that big just vanish? Rarity was putting a hand on her peach and said, teleporter. Shrink ray. All things we seen look we know they are shaking up business, so how about we just be smart about this, she said, pointing to the stairs to Mr. Bauman's shop. They all head up there and in a moment he looked at the 2 sisters, no. Every time you Tennyson come in my shop you wreck it. Get out. Pinkie Pie held badge, we are here about a shakedown. The shop owner said, they come and I pay them to leave, just let that happen. In a moment they heard laughter and there was Pisfin with a chicken man Fistina and bubble helmet. The alien smirked as he held his wrist laser and fired on Pinkie Pie, only for Rook to block with the prototool shield. Amazing tech and weapon, I'll take it, green boy. Rook blinked and said, I am blue, sir. The shopkeeper, that is a figure of speak for new. Get out of the shop. The gang members attacked, so Pinkie Pie punched the chicken man out with 1 hit to the beak, still got that earth pony strength. Rarity was using her shields to block Festina's punch as the alien said, new guy is kind of cute. In a moment Rarity tackled the woman, grabbing her metal arm, ripping it off and using it to smash her Odie. He is mine B. Siphon fired on Rook, who was blocking, only for a kitchen sink to hit him in the head as Pinkie Pie said, see, we didn't break SHT this time, she said, holding out AV, but when she moved her foot she tripped and fell her backside, making a hole in the floor she was stuck in. She tried to get up but cried, gee, doesn't this make a woman feel like dieting? Can we get some butter or something, my flank is stuck in a hole. Rook switched the protorule into sword model, I'll just cut it out so we can chip it out. The shopkeeper was writing floor repair in a bookmarked Tennyson damage costs. Pinkie Pie was crying, I need to lay off the cupcakes. Come on Rook, cut my big fat ass out, literally, she said, hiding her face with her hands in shame. Meanwhile back home. Megan was walking to the door. The little unicorn hovered herself up to the little window out to see who it was just the mailman. She went down and used magic to turn the knob and take it. Hi Mr. Mailman, she said, taking it, then closing the door. She then went to hand it to Carl. The father looked at it, Bill, letter form, my friend Bill. Scam, junk, offer for cards, that's a big no. Oh look, postcard form Ben. He said, looking at it. It had Ben as Ripjaws swimming along a coral reef beside the mermaid Jessica, both waving. Meanwhile on an unknown planet Ben and Jessica were getting out of an alien shipwreck. Ben was grave attack using his hand to crush the button. Can't believe I had to remake the universe today. Jessica held her arm and asked, you got everything right? Right? Ben nodded. Meanwhile on Earth, on a late night patrol, Twilight, Cooper, Rainbow Dash and Pierce were riding by a Mr. Smoothie, triggering Cooper to say, something seems off about Mr. Smoothie. Pierce took his eyes off the road and the guy they were chasing to look at him. Not the time, man, he called out as they came to a warehouse. They drove through its door to see Fistrick walking up in a new mech suit. You like it, Tennyson? Big improvement over the racer mechs, he said, banging fists. Cooper made his eyes glow as the weapon systems eject the ammo. That's all I can do. The man smirked as he charged to smash the car, forcing them all out. No disrespect, bro, but I was ready for that. Under this metal lots are organic tech parts and megawatts powering it. It's an almost all-natural mech suit, bro, he said as he went in to smash the tech head. Only for Twilight to summon an energy wall to block it. Okay then. That's new, she said, dumbfounded by how that would work. Rainbow Dash flew out to try and land a kick, but the mech moved just as fast, allowing him to grab and slam her to the ground. Kept an organic version of that super speed engine lady, no using bullet time to try and get me. No disrespect, I respect your speed. In a moment Pierce started firing off spikes. Hey, she is spoken for. Cooper then looked up, making an robotic arm building machine form the assembly line, breaking the jars holding the megawatts in, but you should have taken this outside. The megawatts quickly traveled through the metal parts to get to their former capture and attack. Elsewhere in the city, Applejack and Alan heard a growl and turned to see a lizard dog thing, and in a moment it roared as it changed into a crabdozer. Alan changed and asked, "What on earth did I just see?" he said, jumping with flames as it charged, only for Applejack to roundhouse kick its jaw. The dozer may have been made for eating heat blast, but it was facing an earth pony with combat training. The thing turned back into a dog for a moment before changing once more. This time into a pterorantula. Applejack's jaw dropped. It's like a predator omnitrix. Predatrix. She called out, holding her head at her while covering itself in its shock webs. She jumped over it onto its back to avoid the shock as she used a rope to grab its head and steer it into a wall. Ah's was ready to grab this thing by the horns. Alan then jumped out, firing off a fireball, only for the thing to time out, making Applejack fall to the right and the fireball fly right over the lizard thing. Rain then started putting out Alan's flames just enough to show his face, and the dog ran at the sight. Wait, did it just figure out I wasn't Ben? Applejack jumped up, cracking her back, and said, "The crabdozer that attacked the others. It had the same damn collar, that was it. We needs to report this." Later on, the plumber base was in an uproar. Blukik slapped his hand into his palm. "I am telling you, Drika, it has got to be Albedo. He knows how to make an omnitrix. He has to be involved." Dryba rolled his eyes and said, "Yes, but his ego makes him want to prove himself better than Ben. Unlashing an animal to hunt him, not something he would do. Too simple, to logical, and most unlikely it's too effective." Max walked up holding his chin, "And it can't be. Phil turned into a pterorantula when Ben was a kid. That had to have been a prototype test run." Dryba did a victory dance as Blukik said, "Test Albedo could have still helped finish the Predatrix. With, by the way, that is a horrible name. How about Nematrix?" The other Galvin said, "Sir. Predatrix is already in the memo, it's too late for a name change. Besides, I like it." They then got into a fight over this. Elsewhere in it, Fluttershy was walking around down to the cells. "You can't fool me. I know you have been after the watch. After getting a chance to use it. With 2 brains, this would be something you can do, Onimo." She then blinked as she screamed at an empty cell. She then opened it. Okay, she grabbed a shark plushie with bat wings and squid tentacles and a chicken tail feather. "The crazy is here, just not the 2-in-1 brothers," she said, holding her chin as she looked around. She then saw a crack on side of the can and said, "Please tell me they didn't." She then pushed it, and in a second the John fell over, cracking, revealing a tunnel. "He hollowed out the toilet," she said, wide-eyed and grossed out. She then looked at it, no longer hooked up. "Where did he go? Wait." She then sniffed the plush and dropped it. Gross. The plushes are CRP bags. Eeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeee they? She then ran out screaming to the public bathroom to wash her hands as much as she could. This is so gross, why the hell did I overthink it? She screamed grossed out before heading back to the cell putting on gloves. She pulled out a floss light from her pocket and head down it. Come on, let's explore the crab chute escape tunnel, she said sarcastically, looking at the stream of water, so much poo water. She then spotted a rat and saw the rat's head was twice the size of its body, making it unable to move. She jumped and had a look of horror on her face as she walked around it. Okay, so the CRP juice has mutagenetic chemicals in it. Is that illegal dumping or just all the out-of-this-world stuff being flushed daily around here? She then came to ants in a line and looked around a corner to see one giant one with make by Onimo craved into his backside. Yeah, so not creepy, she then blinked as she looked to it. If only I smelled like one. Wait, she then pulled out a bag and used it to get some of the stream. So gross, Mr. Normal Ant, stand still please. She then dumped it and stepped on the ant as it grew. She held her stomach at the large half-body missing ant. She then shivered as she dipped her wing into its juices and shivered, I will never be clean. She then flapped and landed on the big ant that carried her along. Well, just wait till you take me to Onimo then, she said, sitting and sighing. My adventure just had to be the gross one. When Fluttershy made it to the anthill, she flew up to the top and landed, Onimo. Onimo turned in his king ant costume and he said, oh look, it's the cute Tennyson here to meddle in our plans, brother. The brain on his head, statement agreed. Fluttershy jumped a little and covered herself, okay creep. Just please tell me you made the predatrix. He seemed confused as she said, this freaky alien dog is running around with a bootleg omnitrix that turns it into the things that eat my brother's transformations. Onimo held his chin as he said, yeah, you know, that is pretty smart, we should have thought of that, brother. The brother then said, agreed, very clever idea. The yellow mare's jaw dropped, wait, she held her hands out here, I came to confront you about this and you are not the crazy as who sick the hellhound out on my brother, she declared, stomping a hoof to show aggression as was equine instinct to do. Onimo held his chin and said, yeah, me and my brother are planning to mutate every ant on the planet a giant under our control. Granted, Antarctica will not be under our control as that is the only place without ants. Fluttershy's eye twitched as she growled, giving the stare making Onimo freeze. He was too frozen to order his ants. The brain in the jar said, even I am frozen. The mare gave the stare, walking, I walked through SHT water. Had to kill and mutate an ant with SHT water. Cover my wing in ant guts to sneak here to end the hellhound, and now you are telling me you are not the guy. She growled, making fists, and worst of all, you aren't even planning on taking over the world, it's just most of the world. With a cliché so old. It was stupid when it was new. In a moment in rage she kicked the controls down, making it land in the middle of the tower, making it explode, breaking the machine. She kept looking at the Onimos as she pointed to the left, I mean, did you think this through? Bug spray army dead, she said, pulling out a can and spraying a giant ant that was about to attack her, and it fell over. Your plan would have failed even if I hadn't broke it. The brain then said, ambush would have allowed for damage and chaos, it stated, and Fluttershy growled at the brain, making its jar bubble as it said, I just figuratively SHT myself. Onimo looked up at his brother and said, don't worry brother, I SHT my pants for both of us. The brain said, thank you brother. The yellow mare was growling as she said, go back to jail now. He had his arms out to use as flamethrowers, but the machines broke when she gave them the stare. How did that even work? I said go to jail, but. Onimo held his hands up, walking down the stairs as he said, okay, we're going. She kept looking at him. She followed. This continued all the way back to Bellwood, back to the plumber base and through its halls till Onimo got into a new cell and said, see, went back to jail. Please dorp the stair now. I can't CRP my pants anymore. I don't know how there was that much in me. The Professor Brain then said, yes, please stop it. Fluttershy then walked off. Max walked up, but she shot the stare, I am going to go to the showers and clean SHT water and bug guts off my fur and feathers. Drop some bug spray on a giant ant hill with giant fire-breathing pants out in the desert about 5 miles from here. She then walked into the girls' shower and opened a locker with her name on it and said, and spare outfit. I am going to need to burn this one. After she was done she walked out in white jean shorts and a pink sports br as she no shoes. What it is, my gym cloths, she said, looking at two guys and shooting them the stare, making them back away. She then walked over to the communication center and hit a button and said, hey Dad, Onimo was a no-go. So we still don't know who is making the predatrix. She sighed at it. Carl then spoke up and said, I know sweetie. She was clearly on speaker and his face wasn't shown. As Carl had an energy shield gauntlet on one arm and the 3-finger gun built-in glow on the other, blocking strikes from a Thunder Biggs mace and shooting him in the gut. Sorry sweetie, daddy has to hang up, bacon is trying to eat him. In the base Fluttershy blinked as she asked, wait, what now? Meanwhile Sandra and Jessie were shopping for baby stuff as Jessie picked up a onesie and said, "Yes, this won't work." "I mean, how did you get stuff for Megan? She had to be special ordered or made by the plumbers." "Because our grandbabies are going to ponies, and merfolk. This is a how to prep nightmare, but I want the mare pony grandbabies so bad," she said, picturing a cute little anthro-mare with green fur swimming in the ocean. Sandra nodded and said, "We had it all special made, we'll do that for them," they said, holding arms and jumping. Lucy was watching this in the mail as her left eye twitched. This two have gone grandbaby crazy. Jessie span around and pointed at her wife, "Like you haven't? They are coming back soon." The blonde then held her arms up, and Jessica said, "Not PRGNNT. I mean, have you two stopped to think about biology? You want a horse and a fish to make a hybrid. You would need high tech or magic to make that work. Well, I mean, they could always have a child through Ripjaws, but that's a fish and a fish, so it works. So merman or mermaid, not mermain or mermare. I mean, honestly, I know we are in the world of magic and alien, but common sense still applies to both." Sandra rolled her eyes as she said, "And if Eunice hadn't gotten PRGNN by Brayburn, you would be right. But pony and cyborg fish made a baby. Your argument is invalid." Lucy jumped as she held her head. "Eunice can copy DNA to make herself a match because of tech part of cyborg fish. She already had the high-tech answer built into her. Literally." Sandra was looking at Cribs, "And Ben has magic as he is a unicorn. So your point?" Lucy then walked out. "It's 4:45. I am going to a bar. And I will sit till the clock hits 5. Then I am going to get so drunk I will pass out and PSS myself. I'll be home in the morning hungover," she said, leaving them. Meanwhile, on the ship back home, Jessica was sitting beside Ben as she said, "So your grandma gave you the spell that will let us have a foal. Should we tell either of our moms?" Ben held her hand and said, "Hell no. They will start talking about 10 grandbabies." The redhead sighed, "More like 12, that's Mommy Jessie's lucky number." Now while Ben and Rook were running after an elastic alien woman who stole a fusion power core, down in Undertown there was another adventure happening. Jessica was happily walking around with a happy little spring in her step. She was walking around till she spotted something large breathing acid. A hippie wildvine said, "Wait, Screegets only do that in nitrogen," he said, pointing. Jessica looked to the collar and said, "One Earth's air has some nitrogen." The plant looked stunned and Jessica pointed to the collar. "Also, the red spike collar is a knockoff Omnitrix that works with non-intelligent life forms' DNA." The plant turned to look at her, "And what makes you think I believe that?" At which point Blarney Hoakstar walked out, a Screeget under his arm and a shield. As he showed him video of Kyber breaking in his dog's collar, scanned it, then turned into one. Pax adjusted his glasses. "Okay, cameras don't lie and I get the shield, but they are still endangered, man." Hoakstar held up paperwork. "Sir, I am a breeder of their kind. If I don't have two, I can't do my job in making them not endangered." Pax looked at it and handed the papers back. "Oh, sorry bro, didn't know. Anyway, lady, how do you know so much about it?" Before Jessica could say anything, Blarney pointed to her and said, "Are you an idiot, man? This is Mrs. Jessica Jackson Tennyson, wife of BEN10. She knows about this because the owner of that device is trying to kill her husband." Pax gasped. "Okay, it's not a real endangered life form, so I am down with taking it done," he said, reaching into his coat to throw seed bombs at it, with only seemed to make it mad as it head for them. Jessica pulled them into an ally way. Hoakstar pointed to his tank. "If we could dome it, I could SCK it into this thing, making it shrink. Or at the very least change." Jessica looked at the phone. Wait. Look, the hunter whistled to get the dog thing to change. That sound was reported. Pax thumbed up it as he said, "It's trained and I just so happy to be a pro with my flute," he said, pulling it out. "I can try to match the sound to make it change, man, no need to cage it. Just need to get TI small enough to take the thing off the poor creature." He played it and in a moment the thing became a root shark and Pax said, "Okay, most have messed up," he said as he continued. Next it was Ibby Sandripper, then Pax got it to Muroid. Jessica then ran and covered its ears as the whistle kept playing. "Perfect, professor, can you help me unlock it?" The professor ran over to help by covering its ears as Kyber came down holding his knife. "Well, you outwitted me," he said, pulling out a hunting rifle. "I'll need to hunt Tennyson's personally." Pax then throws seed bombs at him as he said, "You hunt man, that ain't right." Kyber jumped back from it as he fired, shooting of Pax's head off only for it to regrow. What a rush, man. Hoakstar was covering the alien's ears as Jessica messed with the collar. "Come on, it has to work like the Omnitrix so." She turned the dial and said, please work," she said, smiling as it unhooked, turning it back into a lizard dog, and she held it. "Yes, the original unlock code works." Kyber's eyes widened as he growled, "Should have known Ben's wife would know how to handle an Omnitrix. But it matters not, only a non-sentience can use it." Hoakstar then replaced the blank tank on his thing with his pet Screeget and sucked up the thing, and it looked on to him. The peddler smiled as he said, "Now friend, touch it." The pet did its trick of touching the collar and hit it. Hoakstar dropped the thing, and in a moment it became a root shark and dove at Kyber, making the hunter run off screaming, throwing a smoke bomb pellet. Hoakstar then tipped his hat. "I'll happily keep my pet transformed while we head to a nice plumber room where we can filter out the nitrogen to allow us to remove this bootleg from its neck." Peacefully. Pax waved the smoke away. "Man, that hunter needs to go down, dude. I am coming, want to make sure it's humane." Later on at the base. The Screeget was back in its bumble tank under Hoakstar's arms as the professor handed it over to Max. "I'll happily hand over my PRGN female to the game preserve plant as law states to make sure the pups are protected, not traded for money. But I will keep my proof of ownership to get them back once the pups don't need their parents anymore." Max then looked to Pax and smiled. "You know, the wild game planet needs rangers. I think you would be good at it." Pax adjusted his glasses as he said, wait. Are you offering me a chance to join the man? To protect all of nature's creatures that can't protect themselves from jerks like that hunter? Like far out, dude. I'll take it." Jessica was petting the dog. "This little girl needs a name. How about Zed? I think Kevin would love him. He wants a pet anyway. I'll call him and see if he wants you." She kissed the dog's head. Meanwhile, on a ship, Malware was about to yell, but a mutant brainstorm pulled out another one. "You think I would be stupid enough to only make one Nematrix, gentleman?" And I use the term loosely. The crab even said, "It and the other have a wireless link. It has all the DNA of the other one, so it's like we never lost it in the first place. I have a whole drawer filled with unfinished ones." Kyber took it as he looked it over. "Smart, but this one isn't finished either. It lacks one part for transforming." Malware spoke up. "At least he made it so the last 6 years were not a total waste," he said, shoving Kyber as he held the device. "You lost it because you want the whole family including the wife." The hunter got up, rubbing his head. "I underestimate her knowledge of the Omnitrix. It won't happen again. Because this time the crab will change the factory code settings," he declared, looking at the crab. The crab rolled his eyes. "I am the builder, not the user. That one is on you as well, sir. But relax, I can make the part in a month. I would take that time to get a new attack dog, Kyber. Or better yet, steal one of Vilgax's old blank DNA robots we could use for remote transformations and no training. Best part is we can program that to only target Ben, not the other Tennyson, so this doesn't happen again." Malware walked off. "Leave the drone to me. You get the spare Nematrix running again," he said, throwing it back to the crab. The crab caught it. "Very well, Predatrix, how dare they call my work that stupid name? It's the Nematrix." A few days later in Undertown. Max was in a boat fishing with Megan and Magister Patellidae. Megan rolled her eyes and made her horn glow anodite purple as she made a sphere in the water and pulled out an orb with a fish in it and cracked the orb like an egg into the tank. "That's one for me." "Nothing but gloating rights." Max looked and was about to say something, but Patellidae laughed. "Come on, Max, that ain't no different than noodling using what you got instead of a rod and reel." Megan looked confused. So the fish man put some bait in his hand. Nad held it other water, and in a moment he pulled out a fish on his arm and hit it to make it fall off into the tank. "That's noodling." The little filly then said, "That's the most redneck thing I will ever see, and I am only 5 now." Max sighed, but his fish friend flexed as he said, "Well, yeah, it was invented to catch catfish." Little traitors there, I tell you. The cat fish, not the people noodling. But if you want to catch fish with your natural abilities, I got you beat, as I can deep sea hand fish, he spoke as he jumped into the water, turning tailed. Megan smirked and made a bubble around herself out of mana and jumped under, she said, smirking as she magically moved the bubble around slightly faster than the plumber could swim, and she opened it for a moment to let in a little fish which she held up. The Magister held his chin watching this as he said, I underestimated you, little lady. That was clever, bubble to breath by magicking up air and water out so you can catch fish. Nice, now this is catch and release for gloating rights. The filly pushed the fish out of the bubble without opening it at all as she did a little 360 spin in it. The fish man reached his hand in the bubble to pet her on the head as he said, ain't you just cute? Oh wait, is that deep-fried krill, he said, smelling and going to bite it, only to see a robot pirate was holding it, and the robot grabbed him by the tongue and pulled him along. Megan held on to his arm trying to stop the robot, but she was just a unicorn, not an olicorn. She couldn't. The robot was dragging them both as she said, great, you got yourself noodled. That really works. She then pulled a phone out of her overall stomach pocket and she typed, oh, this robots are Mechaneers models made on, oh look, your home planet. How ironic. They have claws that turn into axes or knife depending on submodels. Soon they came to a ship and were taken on to see Earth ships in bottles. As Megan gasped, they will run out of air. When she gasped, she let go of the Magister's arm and fell off. Since it was dry, she dropped her bubble. The Magister tried to say something but it came out, but he pointed to the ships. Megan blinked and said, I am just going to go with, he wants me to free the ships in the bottles. Before the people run out of air. She said, using magic to hover herself up to it, and she said, this is going to be a workout. She said, phasing into a bottle, then opening the launch door form inside the bottle while filling it with air. She then magically made the ship eject the model, and once it floated up she used magic to make the bottle turn into sand, and she sighed before jumping off, making her bubble to go back to the ship to repeat this for all the other ships. That is when the Mechaneers brought Patellidae to Captain Cork as a tied-up still-living sushi plater, making him roar in rage, I wanted it cooked. The plumber said, calm down, like I would really let you eat me, man. Enjoy comedy, you are going to want it since your little captured ship's thing is ruined. The captain hit a button to see the last of his ships being sent out, and he blinked, how even. The fish man then said, simple, the littlest unicorn, he said, laughing, making the pirate turn to slash him with his energy hook, only for a mana bubble to form over the fish man, and he looked up to see Megan's horn glowing. Me lunch was right, it be a little unicorn. That is when the Magister said, little lady, ironically this guy is my natural predator, but his kind can't breath water. It's why my kind left the land almost completely behind. You get what I am saying, Megan? The little unicorn smirked as she made her horn glow and fired off one massive mana blast before bubbling herself as the ship flooded with water, making the captain scream as the ship start to break. 5 minutes later. Megan floated up to the harbor happily, using her bubble to drag the still tied-up Magister by the tail to it, where she dropped the bubble and used magic to untie the ropes. He got up and cracked his back. Thanks, little lady, now let's call your grandpa, he is probably worried sick by now and all that CRP, since either one of us called to say sorry, robot pirates noodled me. Had to save hostages. Megan smiled, jumping for joy, I saved the day at 5. Yes, I beat my big brother's record, she said, doing a happy little dance. The fishman petted her head, good little Tennyson. Now come while I call to explain to your parents, how about ice cream on me? Bauman has my fave seaweed and I think we both earned a little treat today. Megan jumped, yeah, he is the only guy who sells sunflower ice cream, she said happily about it. The Magister pulled out his badge to make a call. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go get us a pint and some spoons. Well, you need one since you can't digest the container like I can. I'm just going to bite it. You understand? The littlest Tennyson said, yeah, I understand, I seen my big brother go rip jaws when they didn't have a spoon once. The old red spot then said, yeah, that's understandable use of my kind's DNA. He then looked to a person. Hey, what's wrong? Ain't you never seen a fish that can walk on land babysitting a unicorn before? Well, I guess you haven't, but still rude to stare directly. Later on when Megan was home, Carl and Sandra were yelling at Max for losing the 5-year-old they trust him with. Megan, who was magically making herself float, was spinning in the air behind them as she was on a sugar rush, formed the ice cream, and was smiling ear to ear as she said, "Sugar, sugar, sugar, yay." Elsewhere, Dr. Psychoboss was working on the backup Nematrix as he said, "I could spend the next few days building this part, or I could save time and take it form the Omnitrix. I'll do the later, it sounds more fun anyway." In the bad guy's hideout, the purple crab was installing a part into the backup Nematrix as he said, "There, it's finished. And sooner than I said it would." Malware was quick to say, "Yes, because you broke in and stole a part of the Omnitrix." Meanwhile at the plumber base, Ben was stuck as pesky dust running form Liam, who was now Humagosaur, Pisfin, who was Heat Blast Fist, Ina, who was Upgrade, and Bubble Helmet, who was Shocksquatch. Rook, who was Uphuck, was running, but Jessica held out a foam gun and shot Bubble Helmet, removing his shocks. "BEN10, you are using my husband's powers." That is when Blukik slammed something onto the Omnitrix. It was a jump almost like a basketball slam dunk, thanks to Ben being airborne to avoid fireballs. In a moment, energy glow returning the aliens to normal as Ben did so, turning into Kicking Hawk as Blukik looked to Dryba and said, "Slam dunk." However, in a moment 4 spiked popped out of the Omnitrix dial and both Galvan's eyes widened. Kicking Haw changed his outfit, now black shorts with a green belt. The dial on his chest. His arms now also wings, his feet had sharper talons as did his fingers, and he had a long feathered dinosaur-like tail with axe blades on the sides as he roared, making Liam faint. Ben looked at himself, then to the idiot Galvans and said, "You gave me the ultimates back." "Dudes, thanks." Dryba pointed at him and said, "Yeah, think of it as a late wedding gift, man." He then whispered to Blukik, "How did we do that?" The other smart genius shrugged, clueless at what they just did. Siphon then spoke up for the bad guys, gulping as he said, "This is going to hurt, isn't it?" Ben nodded as he charged and letting out a dinosaur-like roar to show his beak had sharp fangs in it. Jessica smiled as she happily said, "And that's my husband." "Damn it, I love that shape-shifting BSTRD, she said, hearts in her eyes as she watched the bad guys getting beat up by a bladed-wielding flying kung fu alien chicken dinosaur thing. Rook blinked as he said, "I wish there was a listen for this day. But I do not think there is one." Dryba then held up his hand and said, "Well, let's see, they are getting the CRP beat out of them because a group of small aliens held them off long enough for us to get Ben back in action and depower them. So don't underestimate the little guy, and if you copycat you will be in pain." "That's 2 lessons right there, man." Blukik then held up a hand and said, "3 you if count, be grateful for happy little accidents." Jessica smiled as she added, "For if you count, don't F with Benton even if it looks like his watch is broken." The blue alien looked around and said, "Well, I guess that works. Should we stop Ben and get them back into their cells?" Dryba then waved his hands and said, No, let him finish. Let him go till he times out. They tried to blow up the city to trick us into turning off the power, letting them escape. They deserve this. The crime is big enough so they can't claim brutality. Got to love loopholes. Blukik smiled as he put a hand on his chest and he said, "The system works, people, and it works good." Behind him Dryba was waving a flag with a plumber's badge on it going, "Plumbers, plumbers, plumbers." Meanwhile elsewhere in the city, Twilight was happily walking down the street, people smiling and waving at BEN10's sister. She liked that, reminded her of her filly hood when she was the captain of the guard's sister. Not Princess Twilight Sparkle, or the element of magic, or the savior. Her walk turned into a happy little skip as she held a book to her chest before stopping at the crosswalk to see Tiara and Silver Spoon, and she waved, "Hello, my mini Maras." Spoon pulled out her camera phone and said, "And we are rolling." Tiara smiled as she said, "Twilight Sparkle Tennyson, my followers want a word from you, the only Olicorn. Do you feel lonely as there isn't another pony of your type on this planet?" Twilight blinked. She hadn't thought about it till now. She looked to her wings and said, "Gee, I never thought about it. I guess I do. I am alone, one of a kind. The standout, the freak." She start to tear up and fly off. Tiara looked nervous as she said, "Oh, I messed that up big time." Sometimes reporters need to know when not to ask the questions everyone wants to know. And worst part is we are live right now. Don't worry Mom, we and Silver Spoon are heading home to self-ground. We'll put our phones in the drawer for you to lock up for a week. Silver Spoon then end the live stream and sighed, yep, they then walked off. Later on at home Twilight was laying on her bed looking in the mirror at her horns and wings. Oh damn it, she cried. Carl walked in and petted her back. Darn kids, they need to grow into the filter faster look Twilight. You are not a freak, you are you. So what if you are the only Olicorn right now? You know there are 4 more out there. And if Cadance can make another Olicorn, you and Cooper can after he puts a ring on it, but not before that. The purple mare looked up, eyeliner running down her checks as Carl wiped them off. Come on, you look like Rarity watching a romance movie. Twilight sniffled, gee that bad dad. Well I guess you are right. Just have to deal with it till later. Or till another one shows up. But right, I need to take my mind off this. The father smiled and said, your brother is doing a charity thing at the Founders Day Festival. It's a celebrity dunk tank. Maybe you can help by guiding the little kids who can't throw hard enough's ball to the target with enough force to drop Ben in. She smiled and hugged her adopted dad. Yeah, that sounds lovely. Thanks Dad, I love you. Carl hugged, patting her back. It's okay my little princess. Megan walked by and looked in. Princess. Please, I'm his little red spot, she said, pulling out a toy plumber badge and pinning it to her overalls. Best gift ever Grandpa, she said, skipping down the hall. Twilight rolled her eyes. She is getting a lot more character as she grows up. Feels like not, but a few months ago she was still in diapers. Carl nodded as Twilight got up, stretching. Well, I guess I'll go take a bath and read the book I rented, she said, holding it out and saying, ironically it's about a princess who feels alone because she was born with black wings instead of white wings like the rest of her people. How fitting, she said, walking off. The festival went sideways thanks to another predatrix being used. While her brother was fighting the predator shapeshifter, Twilight was using magic to put the giant wooden bell back into place as she said, so this is how our town got its name. I feel let down. A digital voice then said, the hunter's new attack dog is simple and normal earth wolf, but I am interested in the change I see. The former princess turned, backing away at what she saw. She looked up things. This was one think malware. No, you died when you ripped out and eat feedback, she said, hands out, taking a step back. Formed the alien. The alien pointed his tachyon cannon arm. Now princess, let's not be rash. After all, with only 1% variant, a single blast form, this can turn this into a ghost state. But as you see, rumors of my death have been proven false. He stepped forward as scanned her. Your DNA makes no sense. Nowhere does that energy field that mimics mana. But you Tennyson always had a way to surprise me, he declared, walking up to her. Twilight was shaking. She took a step back again. Normally she would fire a beam of magic, fly, or use super strength to tip it apart. But her Olicorn status was useless when a guy had a gun that could hold a whole state hostage. She gulped. What can I say, we all got mutated. Malware titled his head. Oh, now that makes sense. No way such a strange form could be natural, he said, holding his claw hand as he pointed. Oh, look who just decided to show up. Big Chill landed, timed out, and Ben was shaking in terror at what he was seeing. No, you died. The mutant Mechamopper then said, now Ben, I just had this conversation with your sister. What? No, hello, how are you? It's been years. I can't help but feel attached to you, he said, holding his hand up to show the old Omnitrix icon for feedback. That's right, your change still lives. Want to come take it back, Ben? I thought not. But here is the thing, all my plans have been ruined now. You have the Utlimits back. I want that to farther evolve. He then charged at Ben, only for the Anthro Unicorn to turn into Diamondhead, who covered the dial with crystal so he couldn't grab it. Try it. Ben charged in, trying to slash it, only to pass through the slime as Malware said, such a move will do nothing to me, Ben. He grabbed the alien and slammed him to the ground as his hands shocked, making Ben time out. I used the scans I got of the Omnitrix while trying to eat it to make the Nematrix. I know a lot about it now. He then opened his mouth and in a moment eat Ben. Twilight screamed in horror as he said, such a horrible taste, but it is neat to process the evolution function, he said as the evolved Matrix dial in red came up on him, turning him into his final giant roar, and he roared, "Time to end this world." Meanwhile, Fluttershy was petting a wolf. Her stare had gotten it to hold still so she could cut off the collar, giving it its powers. "See, Lobo, now you can be a nice house pet for me, and wait, I need to take this." She then checked her phone and said, "Bad guy eat big brother, turn into giant who can wipe out all of humanity in one shot." She then noticed malware as she said, "One of those days." Down below, Jessica was screaming out to malware, "My husband isn't one to fall so easy, ugly." Malware was about to step on her, but he sparked as pretty much every red spark appeared to fire on him. Sparks were draining him as he called out, "Why can I not move?" He then looked down to see the dial flashing green for a bit as he called out, "How do you still live?" Within malware, Ben was looking to his younger self, who asked, "So did you learn form losing feedback?" The older Ben sighed, "Not really. All I know is I still have the watch. I still have to protect everyone. But I also know all my aliens and myself have weakness I need to learn to cover for. Sorry I can't give a better one, but losing a transformation didn't change things. I soon got another electric transformation and things were the same again." The kid Ben blinked, so losing feedback was pointless. Ben pointed to the watch as he said, "No, it came back to bite malware in the ass, as the watch is turning the tables on malware by absorbing feedback back while he tried to absorb the evolution factor." In a moment outside, malware was screaming in pain as color was leaving him and parts of him were becoming stone as lighting sparked the dial he had on his chest, vanishing as lighting exploded out from his left side, destroying the cannon arm completely and turning the scar to stone, stopping it form regrowing. Form the hole jumped out Ben as feedback. "Did you miss me?" he said, using lighting to slow his fall to the ground. Jessica hugged him as he said, "I know, sleeping on the couch for that one, but you love me." Malware seemed to be bugging out. "I destroyed that change once before, I can do so again," he said, going to summon weapons to fire form the still working parts. But then Ben hit the dial. Making feedback change, he gained what looked like giant batter one, his back fused to it. A third eye, a second smaller set of arms, he gained a second tail, and his heart tendrils went form 2 to 6, ultimate feedback says. All his points then sucked in the blast, making malware shrink as the still working biomass died. Before long the only thing left of the alien was one big rock as he said, "And mission complete." He then timed out as he said, "Payback is AB. Now then, where we?" Later on, Ben was brainstorm on the dunk tank. "Come dunk a superhero, people. Come dunk a superhero." Jessica walked up with a bucket of throwing ball and smiled, but Ben said, "Traitor." As Jessica threw a ball and hit the target, making the crab fall in and spark in the water as Ben timed out and got back up. The redhead smiled, "What can I say, I am just the first in a long line waiting for this, so get ready honey, it is going to be a long day." The superhero sighed, "Well, today turned out weirder than it should have. But at least Twilight isn't sad anymore. So I'll take the big brother win." As Jessica hit the target, making her husband fall into the tank again, a ways away a glow was going as the pony city of Canterlot was showing up on a small island off the coast of Bellwood. Twilight Sparkle was no longer the only alicorn, but that would be one for another day. Right now this day was over and done. In Canterlot, Twilight and adopted family were before Celestia as the purple alicorn yelled out, "You want me to marry Blue BLD? Even if I didn't have a boyfriend, that would be no bigger than Celestia's cake flank." The white alicorn now Anthro, much like her sister, dressed in a flowing back and sleeveless dress, hers white. "It's not that big. But Twilight, we understand your dislike, but me and my sister have lost our eternal youth, we need an heir and we are sterile." The purple pony said, "No, hell to the no," she said, crossing her arms. Megan looked up to her dad, "Time yet?" Carl petted her head, "Give it 10. Luna, whose dress was black, said, "Twilight, we only ask of this as you are the pony's favorite, the future ruler who earned her status as an alicorn." The purple pony put her hands on her peach, "I was lonely being the only alicorn on this planet, but you know what, I was better off. I am not throwing my new life away to marry Blue BLD. Rarity sister, back me up." Rarity was throwing up at the mental image in a can Twilight pointing to her, SEE. Applejack then adjusted her hat, AHS hates to be that pony well I loves it right now but Equestria is back on planet Equus. This here is Earth in the middle of the United States of Americas. Arranging marriages is against the law hey race. And Equestria isn't in the UN. Meaning this world doesn't view it as a country. So y'all two ain't got no rights whatsoever hey race. Pinkie Pie looked to the shocked sister's face as Pinkie Pie said, yeah I mean. The six of us all of rights became citizens of America. So even if you did get Equestria recognized we won't be. Your little ponies, she cartwheeled as she said, so you are still breaking the law either way so you can't make Twilight marry Blue BLD if she says no and she said no a lot already. So let's drop this and all leave still being friends. Before Big Brother is forced to do the thing. Fluttershy rubbed her arm and said, yeah princess trust us. Ben is more than he appears same can be said for the 6-year-old. Rainbow snapped her fingers and said, Megan do the thing. In a moment all the royal guard were hovered by Megan's horn glowing and she dropped them knocking them all out by the fall. Celestia and Luna's jaw dropped as Sandra petted Megan's head, and winner in guard versus 6-year-old the 6-year-old. Jessica crossed her arms, so how about you quit while you are ahead old ladies? Celestia sighed, we cannot. We most do what is best for our ponies no matter what the rules of this world are, she said making her horn glow as she and Luna got up. They expect to strike fear but instead Ben looked to his watch and hit it making the Alicorn gasp as he became Terra spin and flow off like a top at them. They raised a barrier but he smashed throw and slapped them both through the wall into the air. As he hovered Ben said, anti-magic shell you can't hit me but I hit you. Luna growled trying to throw a super strong punch but all she did was break her hand on his shell as her super strength came form magic not herself and she was slapped across the face by a lipper, I don't want to do this. But they are the bad guys give up now. Down below a portal was opened for Pierce Cooper Alan Rook and Adam to come out of as Megan made her horn glow as more guards came in. The little girl then teleported the family's mech suit to them it now had its old will lower body as the hover thing didn't work out. Carl opened it and pulled out a metal arm band that spawned a round energy shield as Sandra got in to drive it. The 6-year-old then pulled out a phone and bubbled herself to play on it while her family and friends battled. Carl blocked a spear then made a fist so his shield shocked the metal spear the heavily armored guards were in. If you are dressed like a forever knight don't fight with teaser weapons, he said happily as he fired off a mana blast at one of the guards. Jessica meanwhile was holding back 10 spears by blocking them with an energy saber with a green blade slashing off the tips as they came out her while moving. Not one even came close to hitting her. Pinkie Pie was ducking to avoid a spear and she asked, where does a mermaid learn how to sword fight? Oh right pirate ghosts under the sea, she then pulled out a kitchen sink and threw it at the guard knocking him down. We should live stream this. Cooper was firing a blaster as he said, Discord probably is. Fluttershy was using the stair to hold a group back, I know he is. I got the he is text, she said as her phone read the text, Dear Fluttershy stream this fight love your boyfriend Discord. Twilight had a spear, I am going to make sure this never happens to another mare. I am going blue BLD hunting. Carl was about to say something but she said, I am just going to nutter him. Rarity who was still green at the though of a mare forced to wed him, oh please do save all the women form him Twilight. Meanwhile in the city. Celestia and Luna were black and blue crying and hugging. Luna was crying, he keeps slapping us. Why does he keep slapping us? And it's never in good place like the plot. The white Alicorn hugged her sister, I know sister he is horrible. He could at least trade for a hair pull. Ben landed and timed out and raised an eyebrow, I am marred happily, he backed up, and you two seem to be enjoying this too much. Luna cried on her sister's shoulder, FTs. Ben just backed away, yeah you are freaks. The both of you. So I am just going to go geld your nephew and end this CRP before calling on a full raid over this, he then turned into fast track and took off. Nope nope nope. Celestia cried out, you come back here and go back Tio hitting us. It's been so long since a stallion dared Tio touch us, she cried out sadly. Ben came back to the castle and said, those princess are freaks. And I feel dirty used and violated. Jessica walked over and hugged him. Poor baby, don't worry, your wife will give them a lesson, she said as Carl threw her his shield and he said, it's set Tio anti-magic, have fun. Jessica then ran off to face the royal sisters. You nags, you took advantage of my husband. Rainbow Dash was in the air flying form the Pegasus Guard as she said, they are F. She is a manic pixel dream girl and Mary Sue. You can't stop her. She will drag them under to a watery grave. We are by a river deep enough. Outside Canterlot. Silver Spoon and Tiara were showing up, the young Mares, now teenagers. Tiara was now dressed in a black shirt that read, Princess can get yours too, a yellow mini skirt, yellow heel boots and a yellow hoodie holding a microphone. Silver Spoon was dressed in a pink sports top. She had her glasses with yellow tint in them, white short shorts, pink heel boots and a white sleeveless hoodie. She had a camera over her shoulder plugged into a phone, and we are live in 3, 2, 1. Tiara spoke up, Tiara Laven reporting live on what is going on. Outside Bellwood, a city belonging to my kind, showed up. Right away the princess ruling it, who now have no claim to power, tried to force Twilight Tennyson to marry their prince despite her dating someone. They tried to talk but war broke out when they refused to listen. She shifted to point to a burst of fire. Needless to say, Ben is as angry as Lucky Girl in a bad luck factory. Silver Spoon then comment, her face appearing on a small box as she hit a button, or like Albedo in a BEN10 convention. Silver Spoon's box turned off as Tiara stepped out. Okay, but let's do our mega zoom setting to see if we can't get a closer look. The other young mare hit a button making the lens zoom in on the streets. It was blurry, but what could be seen as a heat blast throwing fireballs at Royal Guard was seen. The grey mare then said, yeah, I can't tell if that's Ben or Alan. She then looked up to see Stinkfly spitting slime at Pegasus Guards. Oh, Stinkfly guessed that was Alan, not Ben. Silver looked around again, Sandra Tennyson using the mech suit to throw around Earth Pony Guards. #Mommy Rage. Down below, all intelligent life forms watching this broadcast, be it still live or a recording when we sigh off. She said happily as she moved around. Okay, Rook shooting at unicorns. Yawn. There was then a flash of magic light and the feed went static as Silver Spoon said, and that frizzed our main zoom lens changing to spare. She then hit a button on it making it go back to Tiara. The purple mare smiled and said, as you see, he Royal Guard are being smacked around now. What about the princess? She then noticed a stream and Luna popped out only to be pulled back down by Jessica as Tiara said, that was one. What did she do, hit on Ben? Jessica popped up holding the blue mare down. She and her sister both did. They literally tried about him not slapping their backsides. Silver Spoon blinked looking at the struggle Princess Luna, and we looked up to you. You are sick ladies. #angry mermaid everyone. Celestia then popped out and grabbed Jessica, and in a moment the two Mares looked away as Tiara said, and something just happened that made it so we can't show this three-way cat fight anymore. Or we will be demonetized. Silver Spoon then said, I am watching, and let me say on half of the lesbians, straight guys, and my fellow bis, it is amazing. Diamond looked away and said, yeah sister, let's move along and leave them to fight. I don't think Mom or Big Brother would want either of us watching this. Silver Spoon sighed moving as she said, Mermaid is winning, the tail fin is doing a lot of damage to those royal backsides. And the princess wings are too wet to let them fly away. Meanwhile in the city. Twilight jumped down into Cooper's arms smiling and kissing his checks. I didn't have the heart to do it. I just knocked Blue BLD out. Now get me the hell out of here, boyfriend. Cooper hit a button on his side making a portal open as he stepped through it, closing behind him and Twilight. Ben came down and noticed Rainbow Dash as he said, hold down the front guys, I need to go after the princess. He hit his watch to be big chill before going ultimate and flying off. 10 minutes later. Celestia and Luna were shivering in cuffs and Magic Jammer's wings tied down being taken into plumber cars. Celestia saying, we though they were joking about all the paperwork this world has it seemed so stupid we didn't know. Luna had a black eye she was hiding, and why was it the one hit in the face with the fin? I need a dentist she broke all the teeth on the left side of my jaw with that thing. Jessica was smirking she got healed by clockwork undoing them but her top was currently made of snarrow bandages, and a copy of Ripya's loincloth with was green for cloths as she kissed her husband's check, and good husband. Rarity rolled her eyes as she pulled out a cell phone, and to think I want to be one of the. Oh well just a week till we go to your planet for me to meet your parents Rook let's get a move on, she said holding his hand as they walked off. Pinkie Pie likewise pulled out her cell phone and checked, oh yay Adam come on there is a cell at the bakery. She said grabbing him and pulling him off. Applejack just pushed Alan who was fired off along, come on's bow we's got stuff to do too. Oz don't know what's but AHS wants to start repressing my sister-in-law's catfighting skills. Or catfish fighting skills hahaha. Rainbow Dash used a wing to pull Pierce along as she said, yeah let the internet wasn't already going to make that joke. Fluttershy flew off waving, well I am off to go meet Discord. Sandra then came out of the mech suit and she talked to Carl, the mecha suit is on empty. Ben pointed to his watch and said, when it times and I'll go portaler and bring it to your garage no problem. Megan then hovered herself over with magic, can we stop for ice cream? Ben shrugged and said, why not need one good moment of today? And Royal Sisters see you in the lock-up. Later in the plumber base. Celestia and Luna were in side-by-side cells in the orange prison jumpsuit wings bound by metal HRNSS they had on top magic jammers on their horns armbands that blocked their super strength they raising their gravity so they were using all of it to just move around. Luna who was clearly missing all the teeth Jessica broke, sister I think we are stubborn foals. Celestia sighed as she said, I know sister we are, she then shivered as Fistrick was blowing kisses at her, and worst part is it's co-ed. Luna rolled her eyes and point with her thumb, oh please I got a dude with his brother brain in his jar wired into his skull looking at me over here. Calling me his little chimera. Also can we get some black out on the walls so I don't have to see it? Max Tennyson walked by them and said, no. At night Carl was pulling up to a gas station in the passenger side was Fluttershy in the back was Megan. Megan looked around and said, well I could just hover us back. I can do that. Fluttershy pointed saying, listen to the mini mare daddy. Carl saw the gas station and saw the guy, wait your name is Carl with AC my name is Carl too, he put his hand on his chest as the human Carl said, yeah small world now you be heading on don't stay at that creepy hotel. No one made it the night for the free breakfast. Carl blinked as he asked, why is that? The other Carl said, because it's haunted. I mean I don't want to offend but you act like what's between your unicorn ears is a pile of rainbow sparkle glitter dust. He went back to the car and told his daughter that, I know it's probably a sell pitch but have to investigate, he said driving up as Fluttershy gulped, we are not the Saturdays we are the Tennysons we do magic not hauntings. Megan was shaking struggling to get her car seat belt unbuckled, stupid child-proof belt. I want to ran. Let big sister Fluttershy fly me home. Carl pulled up and walked on the door to see what looked like the guy from the gas station he looked confused till he looked back to see the gas station guy yelling, I told you not to do that. Carl smiled, oh you must be his twin, he read the name tag, Carl with a K. Why would you name your twins the same thing but different spelling, he seemed confused. Carl then pointed and said, our parents were always high as a kite. Now you want a room or not? You pay up front as no one makes it to morning. Carl paid as his daughter screamed, why would you do that, the father said, have to prove it's just twins running a scam. Carl then pointed to a box, you get a ghost in this box you get a free movie. Now come along ladies the monsters under your beds await. In the car Megan was whimpering, who says that? Fluttershy unhooked her, and cuddled her little sister, the place we aren't going is in there. Carl turned and in a father tone said, okay you can stay with Carl with AC in the car, howl of some kind of animal was heard and Fluttershy's eyes widened, I heard that in English better in there. The yellow mare grabbed her sister and speed inside. Carl in one room, Fluttershy and Megan in another. The two scared Mares were hiding under the covers looking out with Megan's horn as a flashlight as they said, "Tree branch. Painting that's eyes follow you. You can make those at home." Alarm cloth, some guy's pants over a chair. Nothing too weird. They heard a cough and looked up to see a ghostly diver with a harpoon as he said, "What about me?" He then stabbed the bed making the two ladies run out screaming, "Daddy ghostly diver dude." Carl walked out holding the band for his energy shield as both his daughters hide behind him shaking, "Fluttershy, you are almost 21, you are too old for this." The diver came out as he said, "Not when it's real dummy." He then went to stab him with the spear but Carl used the shield turning it on. The ghost jumped back, "You are shocked." The ghost roared going to stab but Carl kept blocking till he charged his shield sliding along the harpoon till it hit the helmet knocking it off revealing the other Carl with a C. Carl looked at him, "See twins running a scam. He tells story you go to hotel pay up. And he scares them out of his brother's hotel." Fluttershy pointed shaking like a leaf as she said, "Yeah but Dad he is still transparent." And well, she picked up a sword form a suit of armor and throw it watching it pass through, a ghost. A real ghost. So still a real haunting and we have no say over what happens here as we aren't secret scientists. She said all this while shaking. Carl put his hands on his hips, "First I attacked him, that's self-defense law. Second I am not on my brother's side, I am against him. Come with me, I'll show you." They then followed the ghost as Megan was crying as she said, "Why we trusting the dead dude?" The ghost then used his harpoon to open a locked door to reveal a strange dark magic ritual mark burned in, "See that's why I am dead. My brother offered me up to a goddamn demon. Who then fused with him turning him into a fish man who eats people." The Tennyson blinked stunned at that for smelling fish. Which to plant eaters smelled even worse than normal and there was Carl in his fish man form and Megan said, "Carl with a K," he nodded. In a moment Megan's horn fired a beam of light that broke the other Carl's lure and she said, "That looked important." She then turned to the ghost beggingly asking, "Tell me that was important." The ghost smiled, "Yes it was." The mark glows sucking in the other Carl forcing Carl to mode a dome of energy to cover himself and his daughters as the ghost smiled not being sucked in as the mark sucked in the house, "You did it, you sent my brother to hell, I got no place here." Before long the house vanished as the ghost smiled as he dropped his harpoon, "Keep the harpoon, it's magic. You guys like that. But as for me you set me free." Freedom, a pillar of light shined down upon him. He was sucked up happily saying, "I am going up. See you in the funny pages we." He was then gone as a heavenly sound played for a moment. Fluttershy fainted as fainted on top of her. Carl held the ghostly harpoon as he said, "Well that happened. And now I am out $50. Great, just great." Later on at the house. Dashi was poking the ghostly harpoon up above the space cannon on the mantle as she said, "If you didn't have the harpoon I would have believed a word of that, Megan." Fluttershy walked in and coughed, "Well Megan's recount you just listened to is off a bit as you know kid. But it's close enough. Now it's 5 days till Rarity leaves with Ben, Jessica and Rook to her planet. And Grandpa Bray asked for Mom, Pinkie and Megan." Sandra walked off with Pinkie Pie and Megan to go answer the video call as she asked, "What's all this then?" Bray then simple said, "I found something or equestrian origin and it if my translations are right says it needs a mare of all 3 tribes to turn on. So I would like you all to meet me outside of town to turn it on." Megan blinked, "Yeah I had my fill of adventure for a while. I'll be sending Rarity in my place." She then ran off. Sandra smiled, "Okay then sounds perfect." Pinkie Pie let out an "Okie dokie Loki Grandpa. Be there soon enough." On the road outside of Bellwood Rarity, Pinkie and Sandra were gathered with Bray as he peeled out the cube. In a moment the 3 ponies all hit a button and a hologram image appeared on screen. It looked like a human in a space suit to high-tech to form the modern, recording. "My name is Rave Tennyson." The family's eyes widened. What was a human with their family name doing on this Equestria cube? if you are seeing this message, the magic combined with tech has reached home again. He held out his hands using magic to highlight a story. I come from a country long gone on a dying world. As a human we hold magic and combined it with tech to advance and become a legend in space that will now soon fade into something like the before hands. He showed people with sparks who had sparks fading, the virus strppd us of magic. Those immune left in fear of losing our magic. He then explained, we landed on a strange geocentric system. They had primitive magicless life forms. We are trying to give magic to this world in an attempt to restore magic to our world. Their jaws dropped as there was a skip, date log day 10. We have given passive magic to wingless and hornless horse. The horse has shown primitive size of becoming intelligent while also having enhanced strength form the magic. The next skip said, Day 1010 we took a horse that before used wings for show and mating rituals and given it magic allowing them to truly fly. And seems to also be able to affect the weather, the human said. The next time skip, 1020 the horned horse who used horns as a defense weapon can cast spells like us and the Anodites can. The next one the guy had a beard, lost track of time but we have made a new species with the horns wings and horn and wingless strength we are calling it alicorns. He then sat on a chair, it is going well we have gotten magic and could give it home. But while we were away the magic batteries failed. Our civilization fell apart too dependent on magic to last without it. The humans back home have gone mad and regressed to savages. He then spoke up, we most hide our shame, he said getting up, we are going to blast away all traces of the world we once had. It will all be gone. So once sanity and though return they can rebuild without magic viewing it as a rare thing to be used for good not a gift for all. He then spoke up, if you are seeing this then our plan for planet Equus has worked. The life forms are being evolved to human interbreeding compatible creatures that will soon appear land mass by land mass on Earth. So humanity can interbreed and regain what was lost. Along with backups to stop it from all falling apart. I hope someone of my line is there to hear this message. He spoke up and sighed, I was the prince of my kingdom and now it is gone. Home is gone my family so crazy that act like mindless apes. I hope this new life we made improves our world I hope we get our world back. I hope we come back out of the shadows as the comeback kids of space. He then finally said, Rave Tennyson's last message if Azimuth is still alive show him this recording. I want him to know I am sorry he was right we should have had backup power systems and other systems for magic blackout. He warned us it was coming when the green mini star started to die out and we were no longer bathing in its light all the time. The man held his face crying, I am so sorry Azimuth. I am so sorry I ruined our relationship by not listening I was too pig-headed. And I dare not face you again. But know this I will always love you and the time we spent as a couple. Jaws dropped. While this message would become public knowledge quickly the part about Azimuth led Ben to making a visit with a copy of it thanks to clockwork. Ben finished playing the message to Azimuth, so should I call you ancestor, the toad turned and waved, I had forgotten all about him. Ben rolled his eyes, really now because form I saw Rave is an almost perfect match for my young grandpa. Maybe that's why you sent it to Tennyson and let me keep it. You looked at us and you though of him. And thought you failed him and want to made up for it with his family. He said looking through his dales. Maybe that's why you keep coming to my aid, he became clockwork. Opened a portal and left saying, and for what's it's worth me and my sisters already think of you as another grandpa already Azimuth. See you around Gramps. When he was alone Azimuth broke down crying, well you are right Ben. Like Rave you can read my emotions like a book. He said hitting a button to pull up a picture of him and Rave he was on Rave's shoulder happy and young, Rave. I watched over them. I watched over your planet. Even when I thought of the Omnitrix I was planning to give it to your family. I watched them form the shadows molded them into heroes to carry on your legend without knowing it. I hope there is a hereafter so we may part on good terms. That is when Clockwork coughed making Azimuth blinked as. He said, you but. Ben then grabbed him in a flash, no you friend, he said opening a portal and in a moment he was before Rave as he finished his message. Ben timed out and Rave smiled. It worked and wait Asmith. Asmith didn't look up but he said, yes your decedent want us to have a goodbye. Rave smiled at Ben cried up, you are a chip off the old block. He looked down to Asmith the two just cried before hugging for a moment. Later on in the modern day. Pinkie Pie was looking at the news, gee so we were always made to arrive on Earth become anthro and date humans. Because humans made us to give them back magic without a magic light beaming on them. Heavy. Applejack rolled her eyes as she walked off, sounds stupid to me. Twilight walked in with a book, or how about the fact our ancestor had a thing with Asmith? I don't want to picture it but it won't leave my head. Rainbow Dash walked in eating a carrot as she said, I know right. How even. Fluttershy was blushing as she said, so does that mean Ian sending us here was all for nothing and it would have happened sooner or later and he just want to be a meanie. Twilight held up her hand, no keep in mind if we didn't come here we wouldn't be Tennyson's ad wouldn't think like them. I would have thought like my teacher still and married Blue Blood, they all gasped. Rarity had a bag packed, yes he may be evil version of our brother but he still loves his sisters and just want to save one form of fate worse than death. Now I am off to another world to meet Rook's family wish me luck. On Rook's planet Rarity was smiling she had added a detective hat to her normal outfit as she pointed to the caged animal inside of it saying, bro. Before Rook and his family as she said, Muroids do not do that current, they all nodded stunned. She smirked before now the family wasn't liking her but she crossed her arms, this is something that would need to be taught. This things have been taking and running off with the CRP for storage for later more than normal. The fact they know a trick shows all this rodents have been trained. I have camera footage as well, she said using her phone to display film of one of the rodents using a stick to knock down some of the fruit to get, tool use learned. Rook held his head in shock, I thought it was just them having overbreed, but I appears I owe you an apology for being curious about them Rarity, he put his hands together and bowed. Brala did the same before asking, so someone trained them does that mean they are taking all the fruit to the trainer? Shar held her chin, possible and that would be a lot of our harvest someone would have illegally. Shim jumped and said, we most get it back. Shur followed, bring the thief to justice. Young one smiled the only one who liked Rarity, she is the sister of BEN10. You all should not have doubt her to start with. Rarity was smiling in her detective mood as she said, why yes you should not have. Now the easiest way to find the thief/trainer is to bet on the fact they are returning to their MSTR. Rook I believe you can put a tracking tag upon him. Rook pulled out the prototool with a smile as he used it to stamp the ear of the rodent in the cage. It is tagged for us to track but what if they are trained to only return with fruit? Rook held out a piece of the harvest, if it means getting more back giving it one is worth the risk, he said opening the cage and handing the overgrown rat the fruit. Rook looked at his pull-out computer pad and he and Rarity were off young one tried to follow but using magic Rarity put him back inside, red spots only dearie. Rarity smiled and did a little hop while following the track, did you see them Rook they loved me. They loved me. Yes. Rook smiled as he said, you are a very skilled detective Rarity I never would have thought anything odd about the rodents. The unicorn smiled as she said, that is because you are not a Tennyson darling. And since one trick is saying bro my money is on Fistrick. Rook looked to a cave ahead, how would a human get all the way out here in space, that is when they walked in to see the fruit being made into fuel and there was Fistrick turning around to wave at them saying, what's up bros? The blue guy's jaw dropped as Unicorn smirked, never doubt a Tennyson's word. Fistrick what horrible action did we catch you in this time? Fistrick then smiled, glad you asked. You see how after going through my I know a guy chain I got a powerful laser cannon and a space right away from Earth and the Tennyson family where I could lay low and charge up the thing. I even killed the guy who dropped me off to cover my tracks but you found me so good on you. He said hitting a button on a remote making a laser cannon turn, I already turned the space fruit into fuel for it. I have enough for 10 shots. And as you guys sees it's the size of a skyscraper, it then fired up destroying the mountain above leaving just them open as what looked like a mushroom cloud exploded in the sky. Rook and Rarity backed away as the cannon turned to them and Fistric said, 9 shots left and as my warning shows it's got too much of a punch for your magic to tank it. I also have a voice and signal for fires. So don't try for the remote. You sees you too late I gots you. He then hit a button but nothing and he turned to see the fuel cable unplugged and glowing. Rarity's horn was glowing, no because you didn't install a battery backup so it could fire without being plugged in sorry but the fuel isn't making it your 9 shots are nothing. Fistric held his hands up and fell to his knees, I know I can be quite that's a right. If I can't pay for a lawyer I will have one given. What's I say can and will be used against me in court. Just slab the cuffs on and get a move on. Rook then walked up to cuff him and blinked, well this was quick. Later on in the middle of town. Rarity was using magic to pull fuel carts, sadly we were not able to stop him from turning the harvest he stole into fuel or him using some of it. Rook looked at it and did math, we would have made fuel out of some of it so not big deal. And you saved 90% of the stolen harvest. We will just call what was missing a sacrifice to save the rest. Later on at the Harvest Festival Rarity was in the traditional dress smiling on Rook's arm she was being honored as the guest of honor the first person to get this without being both born on this world and one of its native life forms. Watching this with a disgusted look upon his face was Mstr Kundo who left the festival, how dare they celebrate this an outsider start the problem and one finished it. That's a penance not something to honor. How dare Rook seek to leave our world let alone interbreed with that thing he dare calls a female. He said leaving making Rarity's ear twitch as she pointed, he just mentioned something very specious. Rook looked to him and said, he taught me how to fight. But the style is nothing compared to Earth combat style mixes. But if he does dislike you based on being a different species I'll handle him, he said making Rarity gasp. Rook used a contraction to show how serious he was about the statement, in his culture that was the same as cursing. Young one then walked off as Rarity pulled out her phone and hit a button making Ben's voice come on saying, yes sister. Young one ran around screaming happily at hearing BEN10's voice, nothing big brother just making a fan's day. She said smiling as she hung up and happily walked with her boyfriend. Meanwhile back on Earth. Ben just blinked as he covered the Omnitrix with his sleeve again and looked to Jessica who on the couch petting the sleeping soundly on her lab Megan, she is so cute. I want one. Break out the spell for later. Ben just kissed his wife happily while holding her hand. Meanwhile on Earth. Ben was walking with Jessie and Lucy. Lucy said, come on Ben you can do this, she rubbed his shoulders, you are a superhero you get back in there. Jessie joined in and said, yes come on you need to make the mare ponies. You can do it pony boy. You are a male and that's your wife. Follow the instinct. Ben looked between them as he said, I don't know what to do with this positivity you are both unnaturally throwing at me. You are my mothers-in-law you are supposed to be my arch-enemies. Lucy then simple said, trust me you are superhero Jessica couldn't do better. And plus mermaid grand babies. Those are unicorns and mermaids. How can we not want to cuddle hug baby sit and change those little things, she said rubbing his shoulders. Jessie then hand him something, here give my daughter this they will make the chance of it happening go up. Give magic some help form science. Ben took them then headed into his house as he gulped, wish me luck. Lucy then called Sandra as she said, he's going in. Fingers crossed Operation Grandmothers is accomplished. Sandra's voice said, it's Ben when has he failed to complete his mission. He'll get it done. At the Tennyson house. Sandra held her face picturing in her head, she was picturing a baby green mermaid anthro splashing around in a kiddie tub he had red hair, I just want to call it Kenny. Meanwhile another city form planet Equus showed up. In it Cadance was dressed like her aunt's but hers was light blue. Holding Flurry who was in a white sun dress, shining armor in full purple armor. Greeting them was 5 out of 6 of the former elements. Twilight looked at her sister-in-law, don't you dare pull your aunts and try to make me marry Blueblood. Cadance blinked as shining armor gasped in horror but Applejack said, relax we got her out of it. And no, your aunts won't listen to reason. It took Ben nag slapping them a lot to get them to not go through with it. And even though that was mostly because they want him to slap something else. Worst than it sounds, I was there. The royal couple was covering their daughter's ear as Cadance. I twitched. I had a feeling about Aunt Cadance, but Auntie Luna too. Ew. Pinkie Pie then cartwheeled as she said, and it was a married stallion too. But enough about your current jailbird aunts. Who's here to reunite with? Later on, Twilight was having a yelling match with her BRTH parents who didn't want her dating another species and want her to break up with Cooper. Her parents were dressed in what looked like business suits, blue ones matching. As the yelling match of Twilight, having found out her BRTH parents were speciest, was going on, the other four had left. Applejack adjusted her hat. This is why the only ones of my BRTH family AHS wants to see again is Apple Bloom. I knows they would react that way. Fluttershy then blushed and said, mine would be cool with Discord, they already know. They walked in on us one day while I was in Heart, she said, turning red as the others stopped walking to stare at her. Pinkie Pie blinked and started walking backwards out of there as she said, let's leave that for another fanfiction, shall we? Anyway, I am pretty sure my BRTH family would be cool as they are used to strange things coming from this cupcakes, she said, pointing to her side and lifting her skirt a bit to show her cutie mark. Rainbow Dash rolled her eyes. I think mine would be too shocked. I am bi, but every pony, even my parents, thinks I am a filly fooler. There is a difference. I thought my crush on Soren proved that. But nope. I mean, it could have landed on another mare. But it was also just as possible for a stallion. Why don't people get by, she said, complaining. Applejack crossed her arms. Us thinks we is all bi on some level, it's just how high the preference be. Pinkie Pie was cartwheeling along with her sisters as she said, yep, it's a spectrum, that's why the flag is a rainbow, many shades. But they need to colors all the others make between them. Because it blinds more than that. Fluttershy was adjusting her mane as she said, I honestly think so as well. As I enjoy Discord as he is, and when he feels like being a lady. Yeah, he is gender fluid and can change gender. Got a problem with that? Rainbow shook her head, no. But we are getting bad mental images of our sister. She said, holding her head. So shy, that's just an act while on the street. That's what I am getting. Applejack blinked and said, yeah, us hates to say it, but I thinks we are all in need of a makeover, while Twilight and her BRTH parents have a yelling match that will end in disownment. They spotted a store and headed in. Heading out of it, Applejack smirked. She had on a red sports top. Overalls that were blue with the left leg below the knee removed, cowgirl boots in brown, a belt with a sheriff star badge buckle. Her hat now had a red fake flower added. She also had fingerless black gloves that went up to her shoulders. She was tying a green ascot around her neck as she smiled and said, and that's what I am talking about, she said, adjusting the lasso on the side of her belt. Pinkie Pie walked out smirking. She had changed to sideless knee-length blue skirt, black belt, her cutie mark on it. A blue tank with a heart-shaped neckline. Blue gloves to her elbow, and she adjusted a gator backpack and she said, agreed. She looked at her blue high heels and smiled, wasn't a much on the heels, but I can walk in them. Fluttershy walked out in a green ankle-length skirt. White button-up long-sleeve white shirt, but she had a few up top unbuttoned and a hand pack that looked like a pink butterfly. Rainbow Dash was necked. She walked out in black sports shorts, black flats and a black sports top. She had at the wrist fingerless gloves to adjust it, along with a black backpack, big time. When Twilight joined them, she blinked at them. You went shopping without me. You all hold up. She then went into the store and walked out in a dark purple mini skirt, pink stockings, black heel boots, a blue button-up short sleeve and what looked like a dark purple hoodie. She unbuttoned a button-up top to make it easier to see the necklace that was silver with the word magic on it. A stallion walked by, saw them and tripped over something as he couldn't take their eyes off them. Later on, when Rarity was back, she was in a purple dress, black belts, black flat boots, black hand pack, a diamond hair clip in her mane as she hugged her friend's turned sister. I am back from space now, let's go home. It was late in the night in the Crystal Emperor. Twilget was holding Flurry Heart, who was crying. someone tried to full nap her and her parents were taken down to fast. Before her was a mare. White-furred earth pony, orange mane and tail. Her mane was moving as tendrils which she was using to hold herself up. She had a black one-piece swim suit, orange gloves, orange stockings. Black heel boots, black AMR and biceps bands and a black spike collar. Her green eyes said, "Sorry lady, but I need cash to finish my dad Dr. Anamo's work in giving my uncle his own body." She spoke using hair tendril legs as rams to try and smash her. Twilight summoned a magic bubble to guard her and her niece. "Wait, how even?" she asked in horror. "The fright wig knock off, I was made in a lab. He mixed earth pony DNA with fright wigs, so I am the new fright wig," she said, smashing at the bubble as Twilget said, "New you say." She then made her bubble spin around, rapidly spinning fright wig around into walls, armor, windows and all matter of things as Flurry Heart said, "Weeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeee stopped the bumble and quickly used a spell to burn away the mane of the woman, leaving her bold and without her superpowers. New means you fall for the same old tricks. Ben would have become cannonbolt to do that, but my magic bubble works just as well, ha 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 ha. The next morning the new fright wig was being loaded into a red spot car by Rook as she said, tried to hide her head, give me a hat or something. A woman's mane is her beauty, for crying out loud. And my head is shining more than a knight's shield. Flurry Heart was happily sleeping in her mother's arms. Cadance had a black eye and shining next to her, likewise as Cadance said, so all I need to do was bubble and spin me, and Shining could have done that. The purple alicorn then said, yeah, but you did not. Meanwhile, Ben was in Bellwood avoiding steam machines as he quickly turned into goop, then went ultimate to melt steam robots. As he walked along, ultimate goop said, really, Smith? The steam-driven cyborg looked down from his tower drill thing as he said, well, what can I say, I am growing bored. Those appearing pony towns have taken to using steam power, so I am placated. So I figured I would end this with the honor of a duel. Whoever wins is the winner. End of story. Ben throw a head of acid at the tower drill only for nothing to happen as he said, magic treated. He then jumped to avoid what looked like metal tendrils. What is with the tentacles in my rouge gallery? He asked, hitting the dial. In a moment he was Lodestar, who held out his arms using his magnetic powers to pull out tendrils from the tower. Steam Smythe blinked as he said, I was hoping you would do that. Did you know magnets grow weaker in heat? He said, pulling a SWCH a few times before a massive puff of hot steam hit him. Lodestar tried to pull the last tendril out, but he couldn't. He was too hot to use his powers. Well, now that is something I need to know. He hit the dial to become Arctiguana and went ultimate and fired off his shoulder ice cannons at the tendrils, making it shatter as he said, and did you know heating something then rapidly cooling it will make it shatter? Saw that in a giant monster movie once. But I liked the alternated ending in the comic better. He started jetting around on ice ramps, avoiding what looked like drill-tipped missiles. Steam held his chin as he said, I believe I saw that. No matter, he pulled a lever a few times to get it to launch. More stream vents opened around the drill as he said, this steam vents will keep my machine running warm so it can't shatter. So your ice form is of no use, Tennyson. Ben then landed and hit the dial, becoming Heat Blast before hitting the dial again, then let's go ultimate Heat Blast. In a moment he changed, taking on a taller version of the 10,000 adult Heat Blast. Flames became more liquid and white, the stone blue as he had steam lava and some fire coming from his shoulders. Ultimate Heat Blast then held out his hand, firing white hot lava as he said, well, metal can melt if it's too hot. Get you stopped me with heat twice, now I am stopping you with heat. Hourglass plotline. He said as Steam Smythe jumped out using a copter built into his hat to fly as his machine melted away into hot metal slime as he said, why yes, it appears it has come full circle. Fare to well, Tennyson, he said, trying to leave only for a green flash and a ball of slime to hit his copter, making him fall. Stinkfly grabbed him and said, look around, man, you destroyed property, disturbed the peace, and as this is real life, injured people or straight up killed them with this. Your ass is going to jail big time, man. The old timer rubbed his chin, well then make up plan. In a moment from his neck came spider legs as his head hopped off his body and jumped to a roof to run away. no body. Stinkfly dropped the body and his jaw dropped as he said, "Did that just happen?" he said, shooting slime from his eye to stop it as he landed and timed out. He walked over and kicked at the head, making him complain as he said, "You really did this? Thanks for this nightmare come to life." Not right. He then heard metal footsteps and turned to see the body running away with no head, arms out. Ben blinked as he said, "Again creepy." But the body hit a pole and fell over and couldn't get up, and stupid. "Why did you make your head removable?" The head said, "Well, I had throat cancer, so I had to replace the space between, so why not add this? The hat is my backup life support for this, so it's part of my skull, don't try to take it off, I'll die." Ben stepped away and said, "You a creepy mess of what was once a man." The cyborg then said, "I am no less a man than someone with a peacemaker of earring aid. For what is a man but his will?" The unicorn put his hands on his hips and looked down, "Fair enough. But you are mostly oil steam tubes and I am guessing a hamster on a wheel." The head smiled and said, "His name is Hamburg." The hero rubbed the back of his head, "I can't tell if you are F with me or not." He then saw a hamster leave the body as he said, "Oh, you were telling the truth. Wait, do I want to know where his will is?" The head then said, "No you do not, sir. No you do not." So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 5. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author jboy44 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video, till then goodbye.